There's a particular part of the brain that initiates function of moving your leg, moving your arm. There are particular parts of the brain that actually initiate making love and all that. There's a particular part of the brain that is specifically built for organizing memory. So in this episode, we're attempting to look at how the brain changes itself and how when there's some problem, the brain recovers. In fact, disease, stroke, how a person may recover. Again, that's another very technical part of this job. How can you actually, as it says in the Bible somewhere, who can know the heart of man except the Spirit of God that's inside of him? Even the man himself sometimes doesn't know himself. We have come to the place where in medical knowledge we know is actually the center of a person's personality. Before olden time, several parts of human body had been imagined to be the center of his person. His mind, his soul. It was once thought to be kidneys, it was once thought to be the intestines, it was once thought to be liver, it was once thought to be heart. Before eventually knowledge honed this down to the brain. But even the brain itself, when you take the brain out of a human body, where in that place do these functions reside? Again, I think I also referred to this earlier. You got to a particular place where several workers, but one particular one for this discussion, with Penfield, Montreal Neurological Institute in Canada, and other workers like that are called cerebral localizationists. Cerebral localizationists. People were able to get to the first the general outlook of man, the general framework of how that a man's personality is organized has been taken down to the brain level. But then, which part of the brain does what specific, or is it just a mishmash of anything just happening from any center of the brain? So the work of cerebral localizationists help to begin to localize different functions of human beings to different parts of the brain. So before we said that, we had also said there were two halves to the brain, the cerebral hemispheres, that right and left. Not long after the localizationist effort began to yield results, it became obvious that it was the left side of the brain that controlled a man's speech. A particular part of the left side, not just the whole left side brain anyway, but a particular part of the left side of the brain, the temporal, frontotemporal region, somewhere there, control the speech both to hear, to perceive, and both to also initiate, to make speech yourself. Right and left halves of the brain control right and left halves of the body in all totality. But it is a crossover thing. The left side of the brain controls the right side of the body. The right side of the brain controls the left side of the body. Again, that's still on the general side. But more specific, there's a particular part of the brain that actually is the center for receiving vision, information about vision, and interpreting and deciding what that is about. There's a particular part of the brain that initiates function of moving your leg, moving your arm. There are particular parts of the brain that actually initiate making love and all that. There's a particular part of the brain that is specifically built for organizing memory. Of course, the whole information that a man stores that constitutes his memory, store of memory, the bank, comes from different sources. And they also pass through different parts of the brain depending on what the needs to happen. After all, the memory may be visual. It may be something you've seen before that now you remember. When you see it again, you remember. So you ought to have first got the visual thing, also first got to the part of the brain that organizes vision, occipital lobe, the back of the brain. But that's not where the information that gives you the memory to be able to recall later in life, whenever, tomorrow, next year. That's not where the store is. The store is another part of the brain. So there's a way in which that part of the brain that receives the vision will actually send information along inside the brain to that particular part of the brain that takes care of vision. Actually, it's called the hippocampal gyrus, the medial temporal lobe of the brain. So that's how memory gets organized. There's another part of the brain, again, fairly loose, but in some regions of the inside of the brain where a person's personality, abstract thinking also resides. These are the limbic system. Some fine things, fine aspect of man's motion, they reside. All of this, whether it is to organize the vision, or to organize memory, or to organize personality, they're also about electrochemical activity actually. This time around, there are some chemical things that happen to support the The electrical generates chemical, or sometimes the chemical generates electrical. But how do they get organized and stored as memory? For instance, well, it is that whatever information it is that a man will need to store, or that a man had encountered before and is able to now recall at the next approach of the information, it means that a part of the brain has already kind of housed it, put it in a box, if you like, so that the man could then open that box next time when he's called upon to open it and be able to decide what is whether it's a repetition of what you have seen before or not. Where the way that works is also very technical, but to simplify it, it is that there are some nerve cells in that specific part of the brain for this specific discussion about memory, in the deep parahippocampal gyrus, hippocampal gyrus, where the cells, when having received first electrical impulse of that information, when it was first presented, will fire for that moment and will maintain and will assume a shape. Okay, would assume a particular shape. If that's the only time they get exposed to that, it will not be impossible to imagine that the next, and if after a long time, the brain will not recall. We cannot print out because it's not yet stored. It was just the first intimation, first announcement of that event. It's not yet stored. It has to happen fairly frequently, or if you say not, it has to happen more than 1-2 times thereabout. For the brain to begin to organize it, to know that okay, a pattern is emerging here. This thing, whenever it comes, the cell of that brain, the cell of that region of brain that stores memory has already conformed itself in a particular way. Then, if it happens again, it has to conform again. It happens again, it has to conform again. So after a while, it begins to sense that there's a pattern being established there. It is that pattern that part of the brain stores to know that okay, anytime this kind of thing flashes again, it can organize it. So that's how memory of any event, not talk of when you're even now studying and you want the thing to. Which is also why there's an aphorism that I imagine my listeners would like to take home. It is that when you need to remember anything, then you have to try and repeat it. So remember to repeat to remember. Remember to repeat to remember. Because in a basic way, other things are just details. That is how memory is established in anything. Even normal, a child that's just growing up, 1 year old, 2 year old. How does the child know that okay, when they say Ima, that's me they are calling? Well, it's not the only that realization doesn't happen just at the first time. It is because it's had Ima, and they are seeing also other extra body cues suggesting that whenever they say Ima, they are looking at me, they are expecting something to happen from me. It is all of that because it gets done repeatedly and by several people that the child stores after a while to know that oh, it's me they are calling now, I should respond. It's me they are calling now, I should respond. So that's how memory gets organized in our brain, as we say. So different regions of the brain have their specific functions, and the way even the function, again, we can say, if you imagine in the womb when the brain was being formed, it's not at that time that each part of the brain began to do its function well. Of course, by what the Lord has coded into our constitution, into our genetic code, each part of the brain has already been laid out for what its function will eventually be. But it doesn't come out of the womb performing that function immediately. Again, you have to be said, which is why even if the person comes from a gifted family where people are musicians there, if he doesn't get exposed to music, he doesn't practice, it's not likely to be a musician too. So even though he has his brain already organized, the thing has to be presented. He has to undergo the motions, and the motion has to be undergone repeatedly. Remember to repeat to remember. It is that repetition that consolidates that activity in the brain that makes it to solidify it as a pattern that he knows anytime they call for it again, he can just open the box and produce it. So the brain, even though it's been organized to get that job done, a particular job done, it has to be allowed to, it has to be given the opportunity to do it and do it repeatedly. That's one. Now, to talk about how that when one particular brain function is lost, some of it, or if not all, may be regained. All the cells of the human body as they are coming out of the womb, as a man is coming out of the womb. Let me go backtrack to when the mom and the dad first met. And then the mom and dad met, the dad dropped his seed onto the woman received. That seed joined that of the mother, became one cell. Okay, because they contributed half. It was as the two halves came together, they became a whole cell. It is our single cell that will begin to divide. First, it divides to 2, becomes 2 cells. Those also begin to divide, they become 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, on and on and on and on till the trillions and trillions and trillions of cells that the human body has constituting him. But again, down the line, after but if they are just forming cells, they will just be a mash of some jelly stuff, if you like. No, down the line, after a while, there's a code that also snaps on and begins to say, hey, you, this group of cells, you separate yourself, be ready to form the face, you be ready to form the arm, you be ready to form the legs, okay? So the one that formed the brain, okay, you'll be ready to form the brain, be ready to form the spinal cord. Okay, when they decide to form the brain, there's another process will happen where it tells one signal tells, hey, you, all the cells are forming brain now. Some of you organize yourself and be the one that will function for eye, for vision, for hearing, and